Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm kicking off a
Halloweenish, reading vlogish, situation-ish.
ish. I've been thinking a lot recently about my childhood and the things that I missed out on as a child, or just the things that I didn't get to experience as a child, and one of those things were scary books. I never really delved into the world of like scary books as a child. I don't know if it was because I wasn't allowed to read them, which probably was the situation, let's be real. And I feel like now as an adult, like I enjoy horror-ish things. Like I love a good scary game. Dead by Daylight is one of my all-time favorite games. I love a game called Demonologist. I've been watching quite a few horror movies here and there recently. Truthfully, I need to delve into the horror genre because I feel like it's going to be a genre that's for me. I just haven't delved into it yet. Fully, at least. I've read a horror novel here and there, but I need to like dive on in. What's the hold up, babes? So I was thinking about my childhood and thinking about how I haven't read any scary books as a kid. I did like dabble into Goosebumps here and there, I believe. I didn't read that many of them, but like I do remember a little dabble. I also love the show. I love the show Are You Afraid of the Dark as a kid, though I had to watch it when my parents weren't around. So I went over on my community tab here on YouTube and asked you guys to share a book that scared you like no other as a kid. I ended up picking out 5 books that you guys submitted. So in this reading vlog, I'm going to be reading some of the books that scared you as a kid. I'm super excited about this video for several reasons. One, I've been reading lots of middle grade books recently and I've just been really enjoying my time doing that. And 2, I just want to know like how scary these books actually get. Obviously, I'm coming into these books with an adult perspective, with adult eyes, but there's a part of me that wonders what it was like reading these books as a kid. Will I find them scary as an adult? Will I not find them scary? What kind of impact will these books have on me? What kind of reactions will I have while reading them? I'm super excited to read all of these books throughout this video. I put all of the books on pieces of paper and threw them in this mug to do like a little bit of a TBR jar situation. So let's pick out the first book at random. Here we go. There's only 5 books here. The options are limited, but I'm gonna choose one right now. Oh, I chose 2. I'm going with the one that is in my hand, not the one that flew out. Oh, there's 2 in my hand. Okay, I'm going with this one, because this one just feels right. Interesting. Okay, the first one is Zombiekins. This book right here, I got this like really beat up version of it, but I love this cover. I'm instantly intrigued. This submission comes from Hawksley Ravenwood 460.
I'm sorry if I just mispronounced your username. I tried.
They said, Zombiekins. It's a book about stuffed animals turning into zombies, and it low-key made me terrified of stuffed animals for years. I'm going to hope that it doesn't make me terrified of stuffed animals, because the last thing that I want us to be terrified of Boba Frog. In this book, we follow Stanley, who buys a zombiekin at a garage sale because he thinks it's like creepy, cute, and cuddly. I don't know how cuddly the zombiekin looks, but like I definitely understand like the creepy, cute vibe. But the zombiekin ends up getting loose at the school, and he has to like try to stop it with his best friend before everybody gets like zombified, essentially. The book has illustrations throughout it, which I'm really excited about. Wow, I just landed on quite the illustration. Tell me why that has me even more excited to read this book. I'm gonna be doing lots of Halloween-y things, so this is gonna be a bit of a reading vlog, bit of a reading experiment. I hope that you guys enjoy the ride. Maybe I'll make my own like Zombiekins doll. That could be fun. We'll see. Let's get started. I feel like I'm doing a cooking show or something because you're so far away, but that's why I'm bringing in another angle. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. I finished Zombiekins, which means it's time to talk about Zombiekins and then also try to create my own Zombiekins. And there's going to be a bit of a content warning here because if any of you are like really skilled crafters, you're going to want to look away. You're not going to want to watch this because I watched a 10-minute tutorial and I have the audacity to think that I am capable of making my own little Zombiekins with felt. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to like multitask both talking about Zombiekins and making my own felt Zombiekins. Overall, Zombiekins was a pretty interesting read. I can't say it was like blow me away kind of read. It's obviously like very middle grade, almost like chapter book style. I ended up at one point being like, I need to check what age range this book is for. Not because it's like terrifying per se, but I was just like, what age group does this qualify for? And Amazon has it listed for ages 3 to 8 years old, and I would highly disagree with that. Please stay, please stay, please stay, please stay. One of my favorite things about this book right off the bat is the fact that like it takes place in this little town called Dementedville, and they're like, nothing happens here. And I'm like, how can nothing happen there with a town named like Dementedville? Like, come on. Shady things have to be going down in this place at all times. Also, one of the other things that I noticed like right off the bat when I picked up this book is that the author has his other book listed on the actual cover of this book. And let me just read the title of his other book for you. It's Sir Fartalot Hunts the Booger. And I feel like the title of that book gives you a good idea as to what the vibe is going on in this book. Chaos. Utter chaos. While I didn't think that this book was like particularly scary, it definitely had like really scary moments, and like if I was a kid, I probably would have been like a little bit freaked out. In particular, there's a moment where Zombiekin like commits plushie murder. Like it goes into our main character's like toy room and like murders all these plushies in there. Like that scene in particular was a little bit questionable, and I was like, if I was a kid reading this book, I probably would have had nightmares. I'm gonna insert some of the pictures right here of like what exactly goes down. I remember one point I had like a bit of a jump scare with one of the illustrations. It like freaked me out. I just like wasn't expecting it to be as scary, and I honestly thought that the illustrations would kind of take away from the scariness, because sometimes I feel like illustrations can just take away from the scariness in general, especially these illustrations, because they're like really quirky and funny and comedic, and so it like kind of softens the scariness, I guess, which might have been a choice made by the publisher, I would imagine, to like kind of soften the eeriness, the creepiness. Another one of my favorite things is that they definitely have like an Elmo stand-in within this book. Honestly, something that I could not think about when the plushie murder scene was happening is that it was like a representative of what parents want to do to their kids' toys when their toys make noises, like just absolute toy slaughter. I think one of the saddest parts about the plushie murder scene to me was that the dog ended up getting blamed for it, which like I understand. Obviously, like who are you gonna blame? The dog, of course. It looks like a dog plush murder scene, but the doggy was innocent the whole time. I already feel overwhelmed by this silly little art project I'm doing. Also, I could not for the life of me find colors that actually matched the Zombiekin, so I'm gonna do my own edition of Zombiekin. I mean, in general, it's not gonna be perfect. Let's be so for real right now. That's becoming like my go-to catchphrase right now. I'm being so for real right now. Like, I can't stop saying that. Somebody needs to come into my brain and take it out of my brain. Pronto! I really wasn't a big fan of one of the teachers in the story. He was just like so aggressively mean for no reason. I feel like it was like not representing teachers that well. Like this line in particular, I was like, oh my god, that's so harsh. He says, you'll never amount to anything in this world until you learn to walk quietly in a straight line with everybody else. Like, calm down, Teach. Calm down. Take several seats. I'm kind of going into spoiler territory here, but like it's not that big of a deal. I imagine very few of you will pick this book up and read it, but like basically everybody ends up turning into zombies at the school, except for our main character and his best friend, and like they have to figure out how to fix everything. And my biggest complaint about the book as a whole is that it just like felt like it was super easy to fix, which I know that like it's a middle grade kind of chapter book feel to it, so like I don't expect that much of a challenge, but it was like, give me some twists and turns along the way at least, like give me some chills and thrills. Overall, my like rating for the book as a whole, I would give it like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Not because it was like bad or anything, like it was a fun ride, but like that's all it was like a fun ride. It's just not a book that I would like highly recommend for people to run out and go read, you know? But if you want like a fun little adventure with some scares here and there, some plushie murder, then have at it, my friends. Have at it. Let's go ahead and take a second and draw the next book. Got our pumpkin mug. Let's pick out our next read. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I'm actually really excited about this pick. This is a book that I actually had in my collection a long time ago, and then I just got rid of it for whatever reason, and I feel like it's meant to be that it's come back into my collection now. For those of you who don't know, this is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's just a collection of scary stories. It was made into a movie back in 2019, I believe, and I've always just heard such great things about this collection, and I've always heard that it's terrifying, which excites me. I do wonder if it's going to be as terrifying as an adult compared to like reading it as a kid, because that sometimes can change the fear factor, can change the scare factor. But I'm definitely intrigued, and I feel like I will go ahead and watch the movie when I finish the book as well, because why not? This recommendation I specifically snagged from Sapphire Bree. They said, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. My friends and I all had fun checking those books out from the library, but man, some of them were terrifying. I feel like so far this October, I've done like more Halloweenies than I have in a very long time. Like I love Halloween, except for like the seasonal depression that follows after this month. Like once October is over and November comes rolling in, seasonal depression comes knocking at my door. It does not wait for me to catch my breath. That always concerns me, but I've just really been enjoying all the Halloween things that I've been doing. I've been watching some scary movies. I watched Sleepy Hollow for the first time last night, and I really enjoyed that. My favorite video game, Dead by Daylight, has a Halloween event starting today, so I'm definitely going to be playing that later. I went to a pumpkin patch already. I carved pumpkins with my friends. It's just been a great season so far. I don't know that I will actually like dress up on the day of Halloween, but I definitely will be wearing some kind of like themed Halloween sweater. Get in the spirit. I honestly don't remember the last time that I like got dressed up for Halloween. Like it has to have been like college or something like that. My freshman year of college, me and one of my best friends went trick-or-treating, even though we were too old, but like I wanted candy, you know? And I could pass as a high schooler at that point. Can't anymore, but back then, oh, I totally could. I only had like one trick-or-treater come to my house last year, which makes me really sad. I feel like nobody trick-or-treats anymore, which I know that like it's a little sus these days. We live in different times, that's for sure. I really miss trick-or-treating. Like it was such a fun thing to do as a kid. I also watched the movie Trick or Treat for the first time and I really enjoyed it. It's like an anthology style movie, but all the stories within the movie connect by the end of it, and I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to think what other spooky things that I've been watching. Oh, I watched a few episodes of Ghost Hunters, which some of the older seasons are a little bit much. The newer seasons are very well edited and do a good job of making you feel a little freaked out. Just a little bit. Not a lot of it, just a little bit. Here's the situation. I'm gonna have to pause this video because I need to get different thread in order to sew my little guy together. So we're gonna take a pause, but I will update you guys once he is completed. So let's take a pause here and let's get to reading.
I've been wondering about you. They said that just one look and I'd get caught too. 'Cause there's something about you, and you know it too. All I do is think about you. Your eyes, your scent, your touch is all I dream of. Now I can't live without you. I hope you feel it too. 'Cause we are meant to be. We are meant to be. Oh, if only you could see that we are meant to be. Some obsess about things. Some turn use into abuse and don't stop until it's too late. But all I do is love you. Maybe someday you will too. 'Cause we are meant to be. We are meant to be.
I finished the first book in the Scariest Stories to Tell in the Dark series, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like the whole time I was reading it, I was just like wishing that I could go back into my childhood and read this as a child, because I feel like it would have been much more impactful as a child. Mind you, it was still terrifying as an adult. Specifically, I feel like the illustrations really benefit these stories. Like without the illustrations, I don't know if they would be as scary, but because the illustrations are so graphic and give so much detail, I feel like it just like emphasizes this terrifying feeling that you're already somewhat feeling, and it just like pushes it to another level when you see the illustrations. Something that I didn't realize is that a lot of the stories have instructions for you as you're like telling the story to other people. It will be like, at this point, jump out at your friend and terrify them. And I thought that that was like just so cute. I didn't realize it was like kind of a guide on storytelling. It doesn't do that with every story, but a lot of the stories do have that kind of implemented within it. I can understand why this series has such a cult following, because the stories are just so well done. I was honestly surprised by how far some of the stories went. Like I was kind of expecting it to be kind of like a G-rated horror story collection where you didn't really go too far with the detail of the things that are happening, but like it goes pretty far. One example that I will mention is the story that involves a haunted house where these like chopped off bloody heads just fall from the chimney every night. Hello, like it's so graphic. Like some of the stories are so graphic and so detailed, and it just like shocked me. I gave Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark a 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you to Sapphire Brie again for the recommendation. And I know that a lot of you guys growing up loved this book as well. well, so thank you to everybody who recommended this one, because I feel like a lot of the recommendations that came in were for scary stories to tell in the dark. I also went ahead and watched the movie last night, and I enjoyed the movie on its own, but I don't know that I feel like it was the best adaptation. I'm actually really curious to know how people felt about it that are like diehard fans that grew up reading scary stories to tell in the dark, mostly because I feel like the adaptation didn't get to that many of the stories within the book. It kind of had like an overarching story, which I completely understand why they did it the way that they did it. I just don't know how diehard fans would have felt about it, but I overall really enjoyed it. I'm also very thankful for that movie because that's how we got Season of the Witch by Lana Del Rey. I feel like I've listened to that version of the song so many times this month. It's just perfection. We've got 3 books left. Let's pick out our next read. Shake, 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 shake. What's it gonna be? Ooh, it's Bunnicula. This book right here. I've actually been very excited to read this one, so I'm glad that it was chosen. This recommendation comes in from Rosie Spencer. Thank you so much for submitting a recommendation. Seems like there's like a whole series of bunny, animal, nightmarish books, so if I love this one, maybe I'll get around to those ones. I'm definitely gonna be starting this one today. It's a rather short read. It's only like 97 pages, so I could bang this one out today, but I am getting out and about today. I'm going to an antique store, a used bookstore, gonna grab some coffee at some point, of course. And then tonight, I'm going to Alamo to see Practical Magic. I've never seen that movie before, and I saw that it was gonna be playing at the Alamo, and it just sounded like a fun thing to do on a Saturday night, so I'm gonna be going to see Practical Magic for the first time in theaters, which will be really nice. I always really appreciate the fact that Alamo brings back old movies to play at theaters, because if I didn't get the chance to see it when it came out in theaters, it's a nice opportunity to take advantage of that and go see these movies that I love in a theater. That being said, I hope that I love Practical Magic, but I have heard good things about it, so I'll keep you updated on my thoughts on that as well. Without further ado, time for reading. Since we last talked, I've seen Practical Magic in theaters, and I finished Bunnicula, so let's talk about both of them. I don't know that I have too much to say about Practical Magic. Like, I really enjoyed it. I loved the Halloween vibes, the witchy vibes, and it was an overall very sweet movie. There were some, like, ridiculous scenes that I was, like, rolling my eyes at just a little bit, and I don't know how good of an adaptation it is because I have not read the book Practical Magic. Overall, it was just a very sweet movie, and I think the thing that stood out to me the most was just, like, the sisterly bond. Like, we see a sisterly bond with, like, different generations, and I just like loved that aspect of it. Next, let's talk about Bunnicula. Let me just say, this is not at all what I was expecting it to be. It was much more cuter than it was like spooky or eerie or terrifying. It was never like, oh dear God, this bunny is gonna show up in my nightmares and suck my blood until I'm dead and gone. And I was kind of like going into it expecting it to like be scary. Scary it was not. I don't know if my opinion would be different if I was a kid reading it, but even then, I don't think that I would have been scared of it as a kid just because I feel like it's more of a mystery than anything else. If only I could go back in time and read this as a kid and find out how I felt about it then. I didn't realize that the story would be following the pets of the house. Like, obviously I knew we'd have a bunny situation, but I didn't know that we would be like seeing through the eyes of the dog and the cat. That was unexpected, but like I loved that as well because the dog and the cat, whom can talk within the story, have such great banter. Their back and forth was just fantastic, and we followed them the whole time trying to figure out the mystery behind the bunny. In fact, overall, I feel like more than anything, this book was like more so on the comedic side, which I really enjoyed that. Like, I wasn't mad at it. Chester the cat is a reader, which I thought was really cute, and I thought that the dog was also going to be a reader because he starts to talk about like one of my all-time favorite books, actually, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, but then it turns out that like he has a taste for books, meaning he likes to like chew on the books, and he chewed on Jonathan Livingston Seagull, so love that. There was one aspect of it that I was like, should this be in here? Because it talks about the dog's favorite treat being chocolate cupcakes, and like, can't chocolate kill dogs? Am I getting that wrong? I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm gonna Google it really fast. Yeah, chocolate is toxic to dogs. Good to know. I'm glad I confirmed that. Overall, I gave Bunnicula a 3 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and if I were to ever like come across the other books in the series, I would definitely pick them up because they're just super fun, quick reads. We're down to 2 books, and the last 2 books are the longest books. I feel like I went from like shortest to longest, so we'll see how long it takes me to read them. They are middle grade though, so it shouldn't take me too long. Our next book is going to be What Are You? What Are You? Down a Dark Hall. This book right here, Down a Dark Hall by Lois Duncan. This recommendation comes from Addicted to KH, and their comment says, Down a Dark Hall by Lois Duncan still gives me the heebie-jeebies at 30. I'm honestly craving a book that gives me the heebie-jeebies, so I hope this one delivers. This book, I believe, from what I gather from the description, follows a girl named Kit, who ends up going to this boarding school that is haunted, and all these like mysterious things begin happening to her classmates, and Kit decides that she's going to get to the bottom of it, and the more that she digs deeper into Blackwood, the more that she realizes realizes that it's not exactly what it seems. I'm very intrigued and excited to read this. It's a very eerie day outside, like it rained a little bit, there's leaves all over the ground. I'm excited to get into this one. Let's go. I finished Down a Dark Hall and I have some thoughts. One, I really enjoyed this book. Was it what I was expecting it to be? Absolutely not. It was a bit of a plot twist book situation where you go into it thinking you're going to get something specific and then you get something else, but I really liked what it delivered. I never really felt scary throughout this book, but it definitely has this very eerie feeling threaded throughout it. My favorite aspect of it was the atmosphere itself. Like, I just loved the school setting that it took place in because the school was so nice. Like, when I first heard of the dorms and was like given details on the dorms, I was like, when can I move in? Like, obviously I wouldn't actually want to move in because of the things that happen at the school, but I was like, dang, these girls are living it up, luxurious. Each girl that attends the school has their own private room, which is super fancy, and then they also have their own private bathroom. And that alone, I was like, dang, like, this is the life. Like, sign me up, I would like to attend there. Just because that is not normal for a dorm at a school, at any kind of school. Normally you have to have a roommate. And I was a little bothered because the main character is just like complaining the whole time leading up to it. And like, I understand why, like in hindsight, because like, one, she's having to leave her mother, the comfort of having her mother around, and two, the boarding school is suspicious and is creepy. This is one of those books where it's hard to talk about because I don't want to give too much detail in case people want to read it, because like, I could very easily spoil this book. But what I will say is that it takes a really great concept and executes it really well. My only complaint, and I only really have one big complaint, is that the ending felt a bit rushed, but overall, I really loved this book. I feel like if you're somebody who like wants to read creepy and eerie books, but has a hard time with how intense they can be, this one is not that intense. Like, it definitely has a few moments that have these like tension building moments, which might stir up some emotion within you, but like for the most part, it's very chill, more so mystery based and uncovering secrets than it is creepy or scary. I would give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I will say I'm sad because I read the revised version of this book. This book originally came out in like the 1970s and it's been revised since that release. So I would love to read the original and see what changed and what shifted from that book to this one. And the last book that I am reading for this video, Deep and Dark and Dangerous. This book right here that has a creepy baby doll that appears to be underwater. Yikes. No, but actually this cover is quite terrifying. This recommendation comes from Alyssa and they said, deep and dark and dangerous. Unsure why, but this is vividly in my brain as the scariest book I read as a kid. This book follows Allie, who is planning to spend her summer at her aunt's lake house, and her mom is a little bit nervous about it because she thinks that the lake is super dangerous. When Allie gets there and gets settled, she's told this story that she doesn't quite believe about this drowning that happened in the lake under mysterious circumstances, and she just like doesn't believe it. She's like, you're just trying to creep me out, you're just trying to keep me from swimming in the lake. But as things go in scary books, secrets from the past begin to seep into the present, and Allie begins to question if the story was real or fake. Without further ado, let's get started. My hair is still drying from being in the shower, so we're dealing with some wet hair right now. That's all right. That's okay. I finished Deep and Dark and Dangerous. Let's talk about it. It's a dark and eerie story, but it definitely has more of an emphasis on a mystery surrounding this drowning that took place at this lake. And it for sure falls into a predictable place, but that did not take away from the enjoyment of the overall story. Like, I still really had a good time reading this story, and I definitely would have been terrified had I read this as a kid because it is really creepy and dark and eerie. Something that really stood out to me in this book was just how atrocious and immature all the adults are. All the adults are so terrible to our main character. There were so many moments where I felt so bad for Allie. Like, not only is she getting like this harshness from her mother, and then she gets to the lake and things are fine for her and her aunt, but then eventually like her aunt just like turns on Allie and it's just like so mean and so harsh to her, and I'm just like, where is this coming from? Why are we being so mean to this young girl? This is something that Allie's mom said to her. She said, you should have been Dulcie's daughter. You're more like her every day. Like, why would you say that to your daughter? That's so mean. Of course, Allie is like pushing her mom because she like really wants to go to the lake, and her mom is like, I really don't want you to go to the lake. There's been terrible things that have happened at the lake. I don't want you to go. And Allie's like pushing her. So like, I understand like fighting is a normal thing that happens between moms and daughters, parents and children, but like sometimes you take it just a little too far. Like this fight in particular, I could just tell that there was some like healing that the mom needed to do. It was just very apparent to me. There's this character named Sissy that comes into play that ends up hanging out with Emma, who is the little girl that our main character Allie is taking care of, which is Allie's cousin. Emma is Allie's cousin, and Allie is taking care of Emma for the summer. I explained that in such a confusing way, but anyway, there's this character named Sissy that comes into play, and the second that Sissy like just shows up on the page, there's just a complete shift in the story, and that's where things get a bit predictable as to where the story is going to go, but the thing that I want to talk about with Sissy is that Sissy is such a brat. Like, again, poor Allie ends up getting the brunt of everything in this story. Like, Sissy is a brat, and then Sissy begins to influence Emma, and Emma becomes a brat to Allie. It's just like, you can't win. Allie can't win. It was surprising to me that Emma even wanted to hang out with Sissy and was even being influenced by her, because Sissy is like so terrible to Emma as well. This is something that Sissy says to her. She says, Emma's a baby. She sucks her thumb and poops her pants and drinks from a bottle. Like, if somebody said that to me, I would be like, we ain't hanging out. We are not friends. Stay away. But I think it is one of those situations where, like, when you're a kid, you like want to impress these kids that you think are really cool. And I think that that's how like Emma kind of started to get entangled with it, which I think that there was also some other things happening there, but like no spoilers, obviously. At the end of the day, this book ended up becoming much more of like a mystery situation. It was like eerie and creepy at times, and I was like fearful for Allie and Emma in particular because they are the ones that kind of get the most involved with things. But I feel like it ends up being a story where they are kind of putting to rest a ghost and kind of getting closure for this ghost in order for it to move on. And it's also unpacking a traumatic event that happened to both the mom and the aunt when they were kids, and them kind of like coming to terms with what happened and healing through kind of going back into the past, revisiting secrets that they've been holding on to, and just like finding closure. So overall, I really enjoyed this. It's not a book that I would necessarily like highly recommend, but it was a solid recommendation and I enjoyed my time reading it. I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Let's move to a different location to wrap up this video. All right, we have reached the end of the video, and something that I actually have been meaning to update you guys on throughout this entire video that I started from the beginning, a project that I started at the start, and a project that I did not complete, is my zombiekin. I went out and got different thread, and then I came back and started trying to like sew it together, and I realized that I was way in over my head. Like, I don't know how to sew, I don't know what I'm doing, so I need to watch more tutorials on creating felt characters before I fully commit to making my own little felt creatures, because again, I only watched one video and was like, I know what I'm doing. I did in fact not know what I was doing. But we have reached the end of the video. I had a really fun time reading books from your childhood that scared you. They didn't necessarily scare me as an adult. I think there was like only one book that I found to be a little bit frightening, but overall, it was a fun time, and I enjoyed reading these like very eerie books because that is what I am in the mood for right now. Like, Halloween makes me want to read all the eerie, spooky, frightening books. Again, thank you to everybody who submitted a recommendation for this video. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I might do this again next year, so drop a recommendation for me down below in the comments, or let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon, and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright and tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye. Oh.